I was sitting at Mierendorfplatz. I was sitting in a U-Bahn station. I was waiting on the subway, and I was not feeling well. It was quite dark. I was listening to some sad-ass music, as we always like to do. And I was thinking to myself, okay, do I actually still wanna be here? I sort of want to be here. And I sort of noticed that thought in my head, that I had that more often throughout my life. And I would never do something to myself because life is way too fun, like whatever. But having that thought in my head, I had some experiences in my life that I was like, okay, maybe it's time to get some help, to do something with this. So while I was sitting there, of course, I did not throw myself in front of a subway. Of course, I also didn't tell anyone, because it's not necessarily a thing that you just walk up to a friend and be like, hey, yeah, maybe kill myself a little, you know? You're not gonna do that. You're not gonna approach someone that easily to talk about these things. Well, at that moment, I just noticed that I was losing it. I had some panic attacks at work, which were, of course, a bit fun, because not only you are in panic, but also the persons around you get into panic. I remember sitting behind my desk at work, and I had a customer on the phone. Mind me, I did some customer service, and I was calling with this person, and I literally did not understand anything that he said. I was just out of it. It was sort of like if you would watch Saving Private Ryan and a grenade would go off and you would hear nothing, but everything around it goes on. That was basically it. I got myself into the kitchen. I tried to calm myself down. Did not really work, started to cry. So panicky Mischa was walking around the office crying and in stress. It was amazing. I walked up to my team lead and I told him, like, it's not going so well. He told me, I can see that. I was just losing it. And that's normal. Although at that moment, I was just freaked the fuck out. I did not know what was going on with me. I did not know what was going on in my head. Nothing. Yeah, at that moment, there was only one thing for me to do, basically. Actually go to a therapist. I went there to finally I've had this for years. This is not something new. I finally went there and I was like, let's just start this. You have these dark moments, and for me at that moment it was just like, okay, can it get any worse? Nah, not really. So let's just try it. And that's what I did. It took a few weeks before I got my diagnosis. Most amazing time ever, I would say. You know that something is wrong. You sort of acknowledge the symptoms that you have, and then you try to figure out for yourself what you have. Don't go on Google with that. Like, you can have everything, don't do it. Well, I got my diagnosis, and I got diagnosed with an anxiety disorder and a depression, a heavy depression, which is like basically anxiety and depression playing ping pong with each other. Whenever you are not feeling so depressed, your anxiety kicks in because you can't feel normal. And whenever your anxiety goes away, your depression kicks in because you were just anxious as fuck. Well, to park this a little bit, because there was a solution for this. I just want to take you along some painful but funny stuff. Some things that happen in life, they have a really sad side to it, but they also have a really funny side to it. My dad, for example, he was a deacon. He was working for the church, and it was amazing. I did not believe in God. I can tell you that. Even as a young little Mischa, I did not believe in God. It's a fairy tale. I'm sorry, but for me, it works like that. It's not something that I can grasp towards to. It's not something that is tangible. It's not for me. But it gave me the awesome opportunity to have priests at home. You know, those fuckers that don't sleep with people, or they do, but you hear in the news about that. You have those people at home, and then you're the son of the deacon, and you get the question, Mischa, why don't you go to church? And then you say to this tall ass priester, you tell him, no, I don't find anything in the church. I have my friends, I have my family. What else do I need to have? It's all that I can see. It's all that I trust. So yeah, having those discussions. But there was one thing that always struck me really. I don't know if I could deal with that. There's this one priest. He was driving with two of his colleagues. It was winter, and then he drove with the car. He drove into onto the ice, and his car got underneath the ice. He himself was able to get himself out of there, but he was also the one driving. The two other persons in that car died. If I would think to myself how I ever would deal with that, I would not have an answer. But 2 weeks later, this priest, he was recovered. He has his first ceremony again. And then he stood there and he opened the ceremony. He just said 2 sentences to it. And that was, I'm fine, and they're at a better place. And that was it. I don't know if I should put anything towards it, because he probably keeps his emotions to himself. But wow, having that trust in something that's not there, I'm quite amazed about it. It's something that I won't understand, but it's something nice to see. Well, my dad got sick at one point. He had cancer. He struggled with that for 3 years. But I learned one thing from my dad, that even if you're sick, you can still do anything you would like. This guy, he was sort of like a little hero. Instead of his diagnosis, after a year, he was okay. Then it came back, and then it was already quite certain that he would pass away 6 months later. And he actually extended that to 2 years. Why? Just because he wanted to work. That's all. He just wanted to continue working. So a few days before he passed away, he was still just doing a ceremony. And it was freaking pretty. After he passed away, because he was a deacon, there were some downsides to that. All of a sudden I was already living, I was not living with my parents, so I didn't know all of those people, and all of a sudden you stand there in a church with 1,100 people, and all of those people want to say, oh, I'm so sorry for you, and they want to shake your hands. And although that's kind and lovely, I can tell you after 1,100 hands, your hand sort of feels like being eaten by bacteria. It's honestly not nice. It's so nasty. But oh well. After we shake the hands from all the people, we went to actually the graveyard. And what happened on the graveyard was just epic. As I tell you, the most painful moments have the most gloriful moments. We went into the graveyard and we stood there, and all of a sudden my grandpa, he comes walking up to the graveyard. And while he wants to get a position close to where my dad will get tucked in for his last little moment, this guy, He walks there with his rollator, with his help thing. He almost falls into the grave. And gladly, my uncle is able to grab him, and he gets him out of there. 5 minutes later, we were standing there with the priest, and just before my dad would go into the grave, he still asked if someone wanted to say something. And I have some weird people in my family. I have an aunt. And she asked the priest if she could still say something before he got into the grave. And the priest was like, yeah, whatever, like, just do it. If it doesn't take too long. As he grabs a paper, as he starts off, "Dear Satan." She starts a little satanic rhyme, and you must see the face of the priest. He's like, what the fuck is happening here? But he didn't really intervene, and he didn't say anything. It was amazing.